The Black Lives Matter movement has been hijacked. I mean, I don't know if you're aware, but remember, during the Obama years when Black Lives Matter was more about police reform than actual abolishment of the police? I remember that. Those were good old times. I don't know if you're aware, but I am a centrist, and I tend to believe that, yes, I do believe that we should have some sort of reform in regards to the police department. Now, it doesn't mean that I believe cops are corrupt. I do believe there's some good cops and there's some bad cops as well. But I think to some degree we gotta reconsider how to redirect the way we view the police. Now, I do acknowledge that the police can do some good. I do believe that. I do believe that the officers are just there to enforce the law. However, I also believe that, like any other system, like any job, there are people who are just there because they just see it as a job. Others do it because they want to abuse that power. For example, in my case of teaching, I didn't view teachers as bad people simply because I had a handful of bad teachers. There were some good ones as well. And not to mention, in that case, I decided to be someone that I could set the example for, and that is become a teacher myself. I didn't want students to have a bad idea of what it was to be a teacher. And I think that for people who are complaining about, oh, the police are corrupt and we need to get rid of the police, if they really want change, why don't they try to be the change? Well, in this case, Black Lives Matter has decided that it'll hurt anyone, and I mean anyone, in order to get their message across. It's really ironic because apparently this Black Lives Matter faction in Atlanta thought that it was okay to kill a black girl who was 8 years old. This is what I mean that the movement has been hijacked. The movement is now being controlled by far left extremists who are using their communist Marxist agenda, and they're hiding it under fighting racism. Think about it. If black lives really matter, why would you kill your own people? Why would you kill the people you claim to be fighting to protect? Because at the end of the day, the people that are a danger to us are the people of our own kind. When I was going to school, you want to know who killed a lot of the kids who are of Latino or Hispanic descent? It wasn't white people. It was their own. I would see Hispanic kids fight amongst each other, harass each other, stab each other, sometimes even kill each other. It wasn't the white man who was killing my friends. It wasn't the white man who was killing my classmates. It was their own people. When when I went to high school, it was the exact same thing. Kids forming up gangs. They were fighting each other, killing each other. It wasn't the white man. It sure as hell wasn't. You know who that was? It was a kid with the same skin color as them. So, if the whole narrative is the white man is bad, how come it's always the minorities attacking their own? Why is that? Because maybe they don't want to show their true colors, but in the end, they're still showing that anyway. Because what happened was that these individuals happened to shoot an 8-year-old girl, and for me, that's very despicable. Because they're talking about a girl who, first of all, hasn't even lived in this earth for a decade. Literally, she hasn't even gone to middle school yet. She was still in elementary. I'm glad that I've got to live 23 years so far. Hopefully, I'm grateful that I'll be that if I live more, if I live more than what's expected of me. Hopefully, by the time I die, I've already achieved what I need to achieve. Hopefully, my house is paid off. Hopefully, everything that I leave towards my family is their own, and they don't have to worry about any debt. But this 8-year-old girl, she died younger than me. Usually, the way nature works is usually the older ones die first, and then the younger generation takes over. But in this case, this 8-year-old girl who potentially could have been a future student of mine, because I don't know where I'm going to be teaching. I don't want to teach in California. I've been thinking of teaching out of state, like in Texas, maybe even over to the East Coast. I don't know. But California isn't for me. Who knows? Maybe in the future I could have probably taught her in one of my classes, or one of her children, for that matter. Who knows? But this girl, she's never gonna experience what life truly is. She's never gonna experience going to a prom. She's never gonna experience driving for the first time because Black Lives Matter took away her life. Why? Well, because apparently they got too close to the protest area and they decided to shoot her. No restraints whatsoever. But what's really infuriating is the mayor of Atlanta refuses to stop these riots. They're not protests anymore. For me, it's really infuriating how even the Washington Examiner is calling them violent protests. Like if you're reading the title, I'll read you the title if you're listening to this. Enough is enough. Atlanta mayor condemns violent protests after 8-year-old girl shot and killed. Yeah, that's not a protest. A protest is an act of peace with the intention of getting something done without destruction or death. Right? To say violent protest, it's an oxymoron. It's a riot. That's what it is. It's a riot. You do not kill people in a protest, right? The protesters don't kill people in a protest. You want to know who kills people? A rioter. These people were rioters. But apparently the mayor of Atlanta has something to say, and hopefully it falls on listening ears and not on deaf ones, because we all know how these people are just gonna ignore it. Well, this is what she said. Enough is enough, Bottoms, a Democrat who is in contention to be Joe Biden's running mate, pleaded during a press conference late Sunday evening. I have talked about this movement that has happened across America, and this moment in time when we have the ears and the interest of people across this country and across this globe who are saying they want to see change. The difference in this moment in time with the civil rights movement, the civil rights movement was a defined common enemy who were fighting the enemy within when we are shooting each other upon on our streets. I couldn't agree more. Think about it. Why do you think the civil rights movement is always talked about in the history books? Because what they did was peaceful. They used peaceful methods to get what they wanted. And I think, like I said, and I think in retrospective, right? If you're looking at what's going on right now, the everyday American doesn't know what's going on. Many Americans are not politically active. You'd be surprised. Many of them are moderates. They're just people who just want to live day by day. They don't have time to listen to what Trump has to say or what Pelosi has to say. And when the everyday American sees Black Lives Matter protest and they see videos of violence all in the same website, you really think they're going to be supportive of your cause? There's a reason why Martin Luther King was more successful than Malcolm X in terms of getting what he wanted. When Martin Luther King, actually, I'm gonna rephrase that. Martin Luther King knew that the media was gonna smear his movement. They knew. I don't know if you're aware, but history, the Democrats, to be more specifically, they did not want to give African Americans civil, more equality under the law. They wanted to keep segregation. They wanted to, keep black schools and white schools. They wanted to keep black only signs, white only signs. That was the Democrats. Okay, Martin Luther King knew that the media was going to be hostile towards his movement and his message. So what did the media do? They lied. The media said that Martin Luther King, was an anarchist, a communist. He was violent. The African American community were degenerates. You know what Martin Luther King did? He decided to prove the media wrong. And what happens when the American people see the media lie, like they did back in the civil rights movement? That's how you're going to support. Because if the everyday American saw back in the day violent African Americans, in this case they use the N-word in some cases, violent African Americans fight police, and what they saw was a picture of a black man on his knees getting beaten up by cops, the everyday American is going to look like and saying, that person is not fighting the police are fighting them. That's how you get support, by proving your opponents wrong. Well, what happens when it's the other way around? When the media is telling us these protests are peaceful, and you see Black Lives Matter stapled onto the name, and there's also destruction stapled onto that article. The everyday American is gonna associate Black Lives Matter with violence and destruction. But going back to the whole situation when the case that I grew up in, like I said before, it wasn't the white man killing the Hispanics where I live. It was other Hispanics. Well, apparently, the parents of this 8-year-old girl are calling out Black Lives Matter, and I think they have every right. They said, they say Black Lives Matter. You killed your own. And they have every right to be mad. Black Lives Matter claims they're fighting for the betterment of African Americans, but they kill their own people. I don't know if you're aware as well, but at one of these riots, a Black Lives Matter member, a white woman, I'm gonna mention her race so you can see how racist people really are. A Black Lives Matter rioter tried to blame a black man when she threw a Molotov. Essentially, she threw a Molotov, and then when they arrested her, or I think when they caught her, She basically told the cops a black man had given her the Molotov, when it turned out it was her white friend who had given her the Molotov. See what I mean? It's always the people who are chanting racist the most who tend out to be the most racist. It's very ironic, to say the least. But this goes to show you that Black Lives Matter, they don't care about the betterment of the black community. They don't. If they did, they wouldn't have killed an 8-year-old girl. What threat was this 8-year-old girl posing? I am not sure. I doubt she was even posing a threat. But to these people, all they care about is their little communist Marxist revolution. Really, that's what it is. Through a little bit and see what these parents have to say, shall we? The parents of an 8-year-old girl who was fatally shot on the 4th of July near Atlanta's Wendy's where Rayshard Brooks was killed gave an emotional plea Sunday, asking the public to help track down their daughter's killers. They say Black Lives Matter. Secoria Williamson, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure if that's correct. My apologies if I mispronounce it. The father of 8-year-old Secoria Turner, again, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing the name, said during a press conference, "You killed your own. You killed your own this time. You killed a child. She didn't do nothing to nobody." Police said Segoria was shot while riding in a vehicle while her mother and her mother's friend near the now burned out Wendy's, which had become a flashpoint of recent protests in this police custody death of Brooks on June 12th. According to the police, the driver was attempting to enter a parking lot at 1238 Pryor Road, where a group of individuals illegally placed barricades. At some point, someone in that group opened fire on the vehicle, striking it multiple times and striking the child who was inside, police said in a statement. Is this what Black Lives Matter want? I'm just curious. Is that what they want? Now, the mayor, her job is simple. Put a stop to this. But we all know she's not going to. She needs to grow a spine. But we all know how these Democrats are. They're going to wait until they're personally attacked, and then they're going to take action. Look at what happened in Seattle. Jenny Durkin, she did nothing. She called Chaz a summer of love, and then when that summer of love came to her front door, the next day, actually not even the next day, in less than 12 hours, she announced that she would be shutting down Chaz and Chop. It took like about an hour, 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes, an hour. It took them that long to take it down, but she let it happen for like, what, a few weeks? 2 weeks? Well, I don't know what this mayor's going to do. I don't know what Bottoms is going to do to stop this nonsense, because I think it's getting out of hand. If you want to protest police reform, by all means, go on and do it. You want to protest police brutality? Go ahead and do it. But don't go start riots. Don't. And if you do believe Black Lives Matter, don't be killing people that you're claiming to defend. Like, really, don't. And also, don't be blaming it on people you're claiming to defend. You say Black Lives Matter? Well, you killed an 8-year-old black girl. You say Black Lives Matter? Oh, you got caught throwing a Molotov? Oh, well, don't blame it on a fictitious black man when in reality it was your white friend who gave it to you. Black Lives Matter is not helping the black community. It's been hijacked. During the Obama years, it was all about police reform, which I agreed with. But now they're talking about abolishing the police. Now they're talking about Marxism and socialism, death to capitalism. Yeah, it doesn't sound like Black Lives Matter to me. It sounds like typical leftist nonsense. But let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think Black Lives Matter truly cares about the black community? Do you think Black Lives Matter has been hijacked by these leftist authoritarians and they're using Black Lives Matter as a cover to get their agenda rolling? What is your opinion on what this 8-year-old's daughter father said? Do you think that he is right? Do you think he's in the right to call out Black Lives Matter? And let me know what you guys think. Do you think the threat to minorities, many of these impoverished communities, are other minorities? In my case, I think it's true. I grew up in Santa Ana, in the more poor areas, and I've seen violence be done on Hispanics, but it wasn't the white man. It was other Hispanics. But again, that's just an opinion. I could be wrong. You could disagree. But let me know what you guys think about this. If you like this video, like the video, subscribe if you're new, hit the notifications button as well, that way you never miss an upload, hit all notifications, and let me know in the comment section below. And also share the video if you want to show someone else, or you think that this video is worthy of sharing. Helps out a lot. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. I'm going to be talking about the COVID situation in regards to protests, because we haven't seen the double standards are pretty obvious.